Hi, and welcome to Turra Company, the mother-daughter podcast about everything. Our mission is to make herstory, aka history, not by going viral, but by doing something that has never been done before in our family. Whether we have 2 listeners or 2 million listeners, we are bringing you our very best, and hopefully we are learning and growing together in the process. Now let's enter into the Turra Company experience and create herstory, aka history, together. Welcome to Turra Company. You hear that? There's no hey, how y'all doing? Because I'm in the studio by myself, y'all. Yeah, that's right. The co-host had stuff to do, and I was like, 2 monkeys don't stop this show. How y'all doing? So, with that being said, that they're not here, I get to talk to y'all and say whatever I want. Nobody gets to correct me. It's my show for real. I'm laughing to myself. Ain't that something? Well, no, I'm laughing with y'all. You, the audience, y'all, the company. When I had this vision for the show, the whole premise behind it was when I was younger, people used to come and ring your doorbell and they would say, "Can you have company?" And that meant, can I come in your house and play with you? So when I got this download from God, because that's where this show vision came from, it was telling me to be Turra and company. And you guys are our doorbell company. So I don't know if I've ever shared that on the show. See what I do when they're not here? I'm probably going to do this a lot more often without them. Just kidding. I love them. I love them being on the show. I'm so proud of them. This was a dream and vision that came to me. And when I shared it with the 2 girls and my husband, they were always on board. They were like supportive, ready to go. So without them and with them, we're going to get it done. So anyway, that kind of leads me into what today's show is going to be about. And it's going to be about dreams versus goals. Now, we've talked about goals on the show with the girls before, and you can never stop talking about goals because goals are things that I think people really need to make sure that they are constantly tapping into, right? But I kind of been getting information, and when I say getting information, I'm always talking about God. Let me tell y'all something. When you're listening to this show, all of my stuff comes from God. I'm not praying to the universe. I'm not praying to, because why do I need to pray to the universe when I pray to the God who made the universe? I don't need to pray to the universe. I need to pray to God. So anyway, when I'm talking about downloads and talking about receiving visions and things like that, it's always from God. So now that we've cleared that up. But I want to talk about dreams and goals because lately, I have been just thinking about dreams and thinking about how they impact our everyday life. So I'm going to do dreams versus goals today by myself with you all. So when I say by myself, I just mean I don't have my co-host, but I'm with you guys. And I want to talk about that a little bit from the aspect of what is a dream versus a goal, because they're very intertwined, right? In my mind, they're very intertwined. So when I think of a dream, and I have to go back to when I was younger, everybody knows the story. If you've been listening to this show for any amount of time, any amount of episodes, I constantly mention that for 13 years, I was the only child. So being that only child, I had a lot of time to daydream, right? That's what I did. So when I daydreamed, I always would have these little snippets of my life. Now, did everything that I had the snippet of come to pass? No. But a lot of the things, when I'm thinking about it, the things that I had daydreams about, that I attached action to, those things came to pass. Example, my husband. I always talk about that a lot on the show too, that it was very important for me to be married. That was a big deal to me. So when I was searching out and wanting to live my life, marriage was very important to me. So that was one of the dreams that came into a go. I also wanted to have children. Another dream came into a goal that was accomplished. So I want to talk a little bit about dreams versus goals. So before we get started and get into this, the first thing we have to do is give a little definition of what we're talking about when we talk about dreams and goals. So when I'm talking about dreams are defined as images and ideas that don't always necessarily happen, but they're images and ideas that your mind comes up with, right? Now, in my particular case, what I believe is that they are images and ideas that are coming to me from God because he's ordering my life. So when I'm thinking about dreams, I'm like, oh, and I daydream and I get excited. Dreams kind of give you hope, right? Because if you're in a hopeless situation, sometimes you are, right? Let's be honest. If you're in a hopeless situation, you could sit down and spend a little time with yourself and go into a daydream about a situation and it'll give you hope. And so for me, dreams ties into hopes. And then hopefully the hope will drive you to the goal, which is the action. So dreams are the images and ideas, but goals are the action. So keep that in mind as we go through this journey today on this episode. So let's start. So have you ever run into a person that was a dreamer? Yeah, I've run into a couple. And it's nothing, listen, I'm not knocking anybody. Whatever stage you're in, that's why I'm having this show. Because hopefully if you are a dreamer, this show will kick you into and give you some tools to become or kick those dreams into goals. That's always the goal here. We are trying to motivate. We motivating ourselves and we're hopefully in the process motivating you. I say that every week in the intro. So anyway, dreams. We start off with a dream, usually. Usually for me, let me just say this. This is how my stuff works. And you tell me, you can hit me up on our socials and tell me if this is how yours goes. Usually, if I give myself some quiet time, because that's very important for the dream phase. I find a lot of times my life is so noisy. I got work, I got this, I got that, I got this. And so I don't always take that quiet time to sit back, because if you do that, that's when you'll find that the dreams come to you. So what I've been doing lately is being very intentional with spending time to myself, allowing those dreams to come through. Because I notice as I get older, I'm going to be 52 this year in July. Woo, woo, woo. As I get older, I'm letting the noise come into my head more, but the images and the ideas, which are the dreams, are not coming through. And you have to be very careful with that, because if the dreams aren't coming, you can't get them into the goal phase and there's nothing to action. So you're kind of like on this hamster wheel where you're just doing all these things. You're busy because you're busy. You're working because you're working. And then life is not as fulfilling because you're not sitting back, reflecting, and understanding that you may have a dream in there. And it doesn't matter what age you are. I find as I get older, I think I have to be careful, because sometimes in my thoughts I hear, well, you're getting old. You can't do that. Guess what? You can do whatever you want at whatever age you want to do it. That is why this show is so important to me, because guess what? You can have a dream at 5. You can have a dream at 50. You can have a dream at 80. As long as you're breathing, you should be having a dream. But don't stop there. I got off on a tangent because I was talking about dreamers. Dreamers have to be very careful. And if you find yourself listening to this and you think you fit into that category, a dreamer is a person who just dreams and doesn't ever action it. So I was asking the question, have you ever been around that person that's always talking about the dreams? Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want to, I see myself here. I see myself there. But as long as you've been hanging around them, they're talk. Like a lot of times you think, wah, they're all talk. That is a dreamer. And so let's normalize. That's my favorite thing to do. Let's normalize taking that dream into a goal, which is the action. So when I say that, as I'm saying that, what I'm thinking of is dreamers are the best kind of people on the planet, because guess what? They're getting those downloads. They're getting the ideas now, and they may have never been shown how to action those ideas. And so that's what we're going to get into today. Let's talk about dreaming versus goals. So I'm going to give you guys an example, because most people live by examples. You don't talk is cheap, as they say. So I'm going to give you an example of a dream that I had that I'm walking through it right now and have no idea how it's going to end, but I'm striving and actioning it and being consistent with it. And that thing is what you're listening to now, which is this podcast. So a couple years ago, I'm going to say 2022. Sorry, 2021. I was tuning in to a faith conference. And on the faith conference, there was a bishop that said, God gives you visions and glimpses of what your life is to be. And I was like, okay, didn't really have anything in mind. I was on the hamster wheel just like everybody else. I'm still on the hamster wheel. But I remember him saying that. And at the time when I heard it, nothing came to mind. Like, I was like, glimpses. I'm about to go to work. That's the glimpse I got. But then a couple of days later, I had a dream about a podcast. Now, prior to me starting this podcast, I didn't listen to a lot of podcasts. I wasn't the one that listened to this over here and this over there. I listened to podcasts. I enjoyed them. But I didn't listen to a big variety. I just wasn't like a part of that community. I didn't even know that this was a community, and I love this community. So now that I'm a part of it, I love this community. So what happened was I started thinking about podcasts. Like, I was like, girl, whatever. But every moment it kept coming up. I would be in the shower and then it would come up. Okay, podcast. This is an idea you could have. Okay, podcast. Now, mind you, I just told you, I didn't listen to a lot of them. I listened to some, but not enough to be like, oh my God, I love podcasts. So I'm getting these dreams. I call them dreams. They were dreams. I'm getting these dreams. These images and ideas are coming through to me every free moment that I had. And so what I did is I started saying, okay, let me tap into this. And then I took it to Neil and I said, Neil, I am getting this vision that I want to do a podcast. And he was like, do it. Because he's so cool like that. Like, we're going to do another episode on dreams. We're going to probably do a couple this season, because this is a thing that's really it's in my belly right now. So I took it to him and he was like, let's do it. And I was like, what? And what's important about that portion of this story is, as you're dreaming, make sure you're not surrounded by dream killers, because they are out there. They got that dream repellent. You tell them your dream and they will squash it like a bug. But Neil has always been supportive of me. So I take it to him and I say, Neil, this is what I want to do. And he was like, do it. And I take it to the girls and I said, I got this vision that we're going to do a podcast, mother-daughter podcast. And they were like, let's do it. Everybody was on board. It was just like green light everywhere, green light, green light. So then I was like, I started doing research and I was like, oh, you need equipment? And the equipment costs money? So I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, and you got to edit? You got to edit the shows? You don't just get to talk and upload the show, and you got to upload the show. You got to have a host. So I'm going through all this stuff, right? And this is where the story gets good, because listen, this is what separated the dream and took it into a goal and took it to what you listen to every week. Is I could have just researched the heck out of it, right? I could have just been like, okay, this is how you edit. Okay, this is how you promote it. Okay, I could have just did all that research and never actioned a darn thing. But it just was burning a hole in me. So I didn't do that. So I went to Neil and I said, Neil, I need equipment. And he was like, okay, tell me how much it costs, blah, 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 blah. So we go, we get the equipment. That's, we get it all, we get that down. And like I said, it was so easy for me because Neil supported it. Because he was like, let's go to let's go look up stuff. We went to the Guitar Center to look at equipment, do some research on equipment. And then I was YouTube. Every day I was on YouTube trying to figure out what is the best equipment. What should we have? What'll make us sound good? Because I wanted to sound good. I knew I had a certain voice that I wanted to get over to you guys every week. So anyway, we go through all of that. And then I would go out. I went over the equipment, got the equipment. And then I was like, okay, now how am I going to edit? Because I've never done that in my life. So I sat there and I taught myself how to edit. I didn't know what software to get. You talk to different people and they were like, get this, use that. So I found one. I use LumaFusion to edit our podcast, if anybody wants to know that information. And I found LumaFusion, and it just works for me because it's just so simple. It was one, that just worked for me. So I used that and I taught myself how to do it. And then I created that trailer, and the rest, as they say, is history. But the takeaway from what I'm explaining to you in this story, or testimony, as they would say, is it was a dream. It kept hitting me. Like it would not go away. No matter what I did, I tried to stop thinking about it. I was like, yeah, whatever. But it wouldn't go away. And then the next thing happened, equipment. The next thing happened, the technology of it, right? The next thing happened, the social media of it. Because listen, when I first started this show, the only thing I had was a personal Facebook. I did not even have an Instagram account. So I had to hurry up and learn Instagram. I had to hurry up and learn Twitter. And I'm still learning every day. But the point is that dream went from dream status to now it's goal status. And so you can't stop there, because if you think about it, yes, I have this show. Yes, I walk in this show. And let me tell y'all something. If you don't know, I think this is very important in the process as well. If you were to see me or know me personally in my personal life, I walk around and treat myself as though I am at that level that I dream of. And what that means is the level of millions of listeners. Okay. We don't have millions of listeners yet, but I walk around and I treat myself, because that's an important part of this too. That's an important part of the goal phase. That's part of the action, is I see myself as being there where I want to be. And so I'm always thinking of the next thing. That's another part of this, right? You can't just get stuck in the one dream. Yes, I've started the podcast. It doesn't end there. So started the podcast. Okay. Now, where do I want this podcast to lead to? Wouldn't you like to know? Stay tuned, because as those things come to pass for us, we will definitely share those things. But that's a very important part. So as you're dreaming, let's go back. As you're dreaming, having those images, having those ideas of things that you want and can visualize in your head, don't get stuck there. Go to the next step, which I believe is hope, because that dream has to be connected to the hope. the hope that you can do it, the hope that it can be done, the hope that you're going to do something that nobody's ever done with that thing, right? So the dream, then the hope, okay? Then that hope, you can't get stuck there either, that leads you to the goal. Get to that goal. Once you get to that goal portion of it, now this is very important. You got to keep dreaming, and you got to keep hoping, and you got to keep going to the goal, which is the action. Because if you don't do it in that cycle, you'll get stuck. You'll get stuck. So another thing I'm going to share with you guys. So today, because it's been a tough year. I'm not even going to lie. I think I've told y'all I had the back surgery. I'm getting better from that. There's some things still going on with that. But then there's some other things just going on where some days I just don't always feel like getting on this mic doing this show. So that's another part of the dream, hope, goal is consistency. So I was going to cancel this week's show. I was going to be like, you know what? We didn't, because I hadn't been feeling well this whole week. I just been not feeling well. So we normally record our episodes way in advance, but since I've been sick, it's just been hard for us to do that because it's just been tough. So anyway, I was going to cancel the show. I was going to send out a update on our social media and say, yeah, be back next week. Life happens, blah, blah, blah. But something just said, again, I was in the shower and something said, no, you're going to do the show. You're going to do it without the girls. And you're going to do it about what God's been downloading into your spirit, which is about these dreams. So let's do it. So you have to have consistency also. So when you get to the action part, you can't just, because believe me, this happens to me. You can't just like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and do it and hope I pop off. Like you want that dream to come to the biggest part of the dream when you first start out. Doesn't always happen that way. I mean, it happens for some people like that, but it doesn't always happen like that. You got to work at it. And that's the part that makes it hard, because sometimes you're doing this thing and you believe in it. You see the end of the road. You see the possibilities, but it's not the timeline that you think it should happen in. Be careful with that. That timeline that gets you messed up every time. The biggest advice I can give, keep going. Keep being consistent with it. Keep going. Even if you don't see any glimmers of that it's working, keep going, because if it's a dream of yours and if you keep at it, something's going to happen. It may even be bigger than what you originally imagined it to be. Wouldn't that be amazing? So I'm talking to you, but I'm also talking to myself as I do this, because there are some times when, and it's so fickle, like these things are so fickle when you're launching something, when you're doing something. There's sometimes when I look at my numbers and I'm like, why can't our numbers be higher, right? And then as soon as I get discouraged, the next week our numbers will be higher. And I'm like, okay. So you know what I learned in that space? I learned, don't worry about the numbers. Just keep doing it. Because guess what? If your motives are right and you're doing it for the right reasons, then guess what? Even if you're touching one or two people, that's touch. That's one or two people. I'm going to tell you that since we've launched this podcast, and it's been over a year now, since we've launched this podcast, I have never had a week where I've had 0 listeners. And that is progress. And that's what you have to look at, because you get in this world of all this. We talked about it last week, social media. You get to see everybody, what everybody's doing. So on our Instagram, I'm connected with other podcasters, right? So, of course, I look at what they're doing and how they're growing, and hopefully they're looking at me and how I'm growing, and I'm supporting them. That's my main reason for being connected with them, because I want to be a part of this community. But I'm looking at podcasters and I'm like, oh, look at them. Oh my God. And then you look at the ones that are like got the syndicated shows like your Mel Robbins and different things like that. And you're like, gosh, how do I get there? Well, guess what? It may not be in the cards for you to get there because she's already in that space or he's already in that space. You are creating your own lane. So you have to really be careful with that as you're going through your dream journey. That's what this is, your dream journey. With all these steps involved, you have to keep your mind really centered and focused. And so that's what I'm hoping this show is going to help people who have a dream. Everybody has one, so I'm not even going to say that. Everybody has a dream, whether they realize it or not. Some people have had the dream and they smushed it down. People do it. They have the dream, smush it down, go on about the hamster wheel. But then there are those of us that have the dream, go back and forth on the hamster wheel, but we're still working towards that dream. That is why I'm doing this show today, because there are people listening to me. Something has been put in you as a dream, and you're sitting there in the dream phase. You need to move to the hope. Don't stay there too long. And then you need to move into the goal, which is the action. Keep in mind, the goal is just not just sitting there and saying, oh, I want to, it's not just writing it down and saying, oh, I just want to do this. You have to put the action to it. That's what makes a goal. You put an action to it, go. Deadline to it, go. When I started this podcast, I put action to it, got the equipment, got the tools and technology together. And then I set a date because I kept pushing it back, right? So like I said, I got the download to start the show in September. We didn't launch the show until January. Originally, I was trying to launch the show December of 2021. That was my original launch date. But I kept thinking, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then I saw this video. I can't remember who it even was. But the video said, stop thinking about it and just do it. And ever since I did that, I hit that button, hit record. Ever since I've done that, we have not stopped. I mean, we take breaks and stuff, but it's still our show. This show is going to be lamented in history forever. Long after I'm gone, people are still going to be able to go on Spotify or go on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts and hear my voice. And so I want to leave something out there that means something to people. And so that's what this show hopefully is doing. So I can't believe that I've been on here this long. I thought this was going to be like a quick 15, 20-minute show. Who knew? So anyway, keep in mind, let's do the wrap up. My wrap up today is dreams. Remember, that's your images. That's your ideas. Get those there. Keep feeding them. But then get into the hope of it. The hope that this could be a thing. The hope that if I work towards this, this could be a thing. Okay? That's number 2. And then number 3, build a goal, actions around that dream. So your actions are either how you're going to do it. What do you need to do it? You know, sometimes the action is just that. What do I need to do this? Do I need to take a class? Do I need to study something? Whatever that is, do it. And then keep building goals around the dream and being consistent. I promise you, I'm so excited. This show is feeding it's putting a battery pack in my back, because I can't tell you how excited I am for the possibilities of the dream that God has placed in me. This dream of having this podcast is so great. Like, I would love to be like, and I know it's a process, right? I know it's a process, because if this podcast would have went live January 2022, and I would have been viral and successfully, like, me and the girls would have been on different platforms and things, getting ads and different things, I don't think that I would have appreciated the walk. I don't think I would have appreciated the journey. Having this hidden, because I feel like we're hidden right now because we're cutting our teeth. We're learning this thing. We're building up our stamina for this thing and seeing what we really want to commit to it. So with all of that being said, we're kind of like being hidden. And our day is coming. I believe that. Our day is coming where we're going to be all over the place. But we have to grow into that space. Like you never want to be placed, I think, you never want to be placed in something that you're not ready for. Because once the spotlight turns on you, it's very hard to turn it off, right? So I'm okay in this growing, maturing period that we're in right now. I'm okay for us to be in this, everybody knows our closet studio, because that is part of our testimony. We're going to be able to one day say, we started out in a closet, my mama's master bedroom closet. It's a big closet, y'all. One day. Well, you've seen the closet. You just don't know that you've been looking at the closet. If you look at our video clips on TikTok, that wall behind us, that's in my closet, y'all. Yeah, I'm proud of that. I did that. That was part of the study of the dream. I was like, okay, we got to have a backdrop. We got to have this. We got to have that. So anyway, don't stop dreaming. Don't stop hoping. Don't stop putting the goals towards it with the action, the deadlines, and whatever else that needs to go with whatever your dream is. The consistency. I cannot stress that enough. You have to be consistent. There are people, like when I wake up, because I'm on the West Coast. So I try to publish this podcast. I publish it on Saturday nights for Pacific time. It's like 9:00, I think. And then for my East Coasters, they get it Sunday morning when they wake up. I'm going to tell you, by the time I wake up on Sunday morning, there's listeners. So there's this constant source of people that are relying on us, even if it's just for that giggle, because, we love to laugh. So even if it's just for the giggle, and they're like, what are they talking about? It's so funny because I just went to get my teeth clean. And my hygienist was like, I feel like when I'm listening to your show, I feel like I'm spending time with you. She said, it's so nice. So hopefully other people are having that experience with us where they feel like, if nothing else, I'm auntie and these are y'all cousins. Chelsi and Ariel is y'all cousins. And y'all get to spend time with us. No matter what's going on in your life for 30, 40 minutes, you get to click into us and don't got to worry about that. And hopefully we're giving you, good life lessons, how to be a better person. Because as we're giving you these things, we're giving them to ourselves. Don't ever forget that. We are not perfect people. As we are speaking it into you in this mic, we're also speaking it into ourselves. That's how we come up with the show ideas. Most of our show ideas are things that we have gone through because we sit around and we have meetings. Y'all don't even know. I'm telling y'all, I run this show as if it were in the space where I'm trying to be. So we have meetings for this show. You hear us talk about in pre-production meetings. We do so much. We don't just get in here and do it raw. And I'm not knocking you. If that's your creative process, do it. That's not our creative process. I'm a decency and order kind of gal. So we have to have meetings. We have to do things in a certain order. And the girls get so upset with me about it. But when I read reviews, when I read comments about the show, that is one of the things that we get compliments about, is that we're so organized. And you can tell that we've taken our time to put the time into the research and the work that goes into the show. So we thank you. We're so excited that you're listening. I'm going to wrap it up because that was a lot just for me talking. And so we're going to do more shows on dreams. So keep listening. Let us know how you like it. Go on our socials, Instagram. I tell you this all the time. Instagram, Facebook. We have a Twitter, not really that active on Twitter, but listen, whatever you prefer, go on there and tell us how you like this method. Maybe I'll give you some more alone shows if the girls, have scheduling conflicts like they did today. We can do more shows like this just with me talking. And let me know. Let me know how you like it. Fun fact, before I really close the show out, YouTube. I want to thank everybody who has taken the time to watch us on YouTube, because our numbers on YouTube have gone very up, and I appreciate that. We have multiple, the subscribers are coming, and they're coming through every week. And we appreciate that. We so appreciate that. So keep listening. Follow us on our social medias if you're not already doing so. And we will see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. We look forward to you joining us on the next episode. Until then, be inspired and enlightened.